So, hi there. This is, I think, my 5th or 6th day in quarantine. And to be honest, this is like the first time I've sat down and wanted to do my makeup and blow out my hair. And like, not like I'm going anywhere, because I'm definitely not. But today's the first day that I really want to unleash creativity and hopefully teach people and process. I mean, like, I'm literally just gonna go down to the salon and forward calls and do nothing, but let's just have at it, I guess. So what I like to do is I normally like to start off with my brow, and I do this with my clients too. So when I do my brows, it kind of helps me understand people's bone structure. Generally, the way that you do your brow, and this is how I learn, this is how I normally work on my clients, is that from the end of your iris here, that should be your arch. From here, that's where it should start. And from there, basically the corner of the eye too, like here. So that normally is kind of like a rough measurement or whatever. My eyebrows, I haven't had anybody else do my eyebrows in probably 10 years because I'm kind of a psycho. So I like to use MAC. This is the Flux Brow Liner, and this is Fling. So Fling is really cool, ashy tone brown. And even though that looks really, really light compared to my, complexion and my hair, it actually, you can build on it. I'm not a big fan of Instagram eyebrows because I think they look stupid in person, but, do you. I like to kind of build up from the bottom here, so you have a little bit more definition right there. Just do really light strokes, because like I said, this does kind of turn into a powder, which is nice because it actually clings to your brow hairs. And to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing with my face today. I kind of want to just go with something really dewy and light, and something that I think I wouldn't normally do just because I'm not doing anything, if that makes sense. Normally I don't do too many dewy looks because normally it can wipe off when you're working or something like that. Obviously I'm not working, thus the bottled creative thing going on here. Now I kind of just like to do one and go back to the other one too, so that I feel like if one eyebrow is way more defined than the other, I don't feel lost in over defining the other one, if that makes any sense. So I'll kind of go back and forth. I definitely think brows are such a journey that we go on as people, and depending on how you're feeling and trends, like I was definitely a victim of Instagram brows a few years ago, like 2016 or something, with the Anastasia dip brow, how you're like snatched brows, which is still a cool look if you like that, but I don't like it in person. I think it looks wonderful like on photo shoots, or if you're like really going for a really specific look. Like I do it when I go out with my drag queens, I gotta say that. But that's about it. I mean, today I'm kind of going for an everyday kind of dewy look and everything like that. But like I said, I kind of go back and forth and build up. And I love this brow pencil. I mean, like all of my clients, all my coworkers, like I am such a slave to it. It's kind of sad. And I love it because it has a spoolie on it too, so you don't have to reach for two tools at the same time. Now I'm getting happy with my brow shape. And you know that like stupid saying that everybody says, that brows are sisters and not twins. It's very true, because I mean, the front of my brows are really different from each other. This is more rounded right here. This is a little bit more square. I'm not going to go crazy by trying to square this off because it'll look stupid, honestly. So right here, I'm happy with it. And I'm kind of going a little extra because I have the time. Don't we all? So I am going for a neutrally eyeshadow at this point. I normally have an Anastasia brow color. I just can't find it anywhere. So right now I'm going into my Modern Renaissance, actually. Dipping this brush, it's like a little angled brush, something special, into the warm taupe, which is like a really ashy, beigey kind of color. And I'm just kind of going over those areas, just super, super lightly. I mean, literally with like a stroke of a feather kind of pressure. And what that does, it just kind of sets that just a tiny bit more. And from there, I'm going to use a little bit of a brow set. So this is by MAC. It's a Pro Longwear waterproof brow set. I believe this is Bold Brunette, because obviously I have dark hair. And I'm not going hard with this at all. I'm literally just lightly tapping that. And you see like how it kind of gives the brow a little bit more definition, a little bit more color. I actually feel like my other brow got a little too much. So take your spoolie. This is obviously the spoolie from the Brow Fling, the Luxe Brow Pencil. And I'm just going up and like, again, super lightly diffusing that. Now, I'm a big fan of really defined brows. I actually really like brows kind of going in an exaggerated direction, because I think it looks cool. It looks modern. It's young. It's very like Brooke Shields-y, but personally I love. So from there, let's move on. Now with my clients and with myself, depending if I'm on a time crunch, I normally do my eyes next, just because there's nothing more frustrating when you do your foundation and like your contour and everything and it looks absolutely perfect, and then, you know, you get a little bit of fallout from your eyeshadow. There's nothing worse than that. So what I'm using right now is a tiny bit of primer, and honestly, I don't really do this in my like normal everyday day life, but quarantine life. And this is Anastasia, the eye primer. It's actually really wonderful too if you want to use like brighter colors. But for right now, I'm just doing a really tiny wash of it, just because my eyelids are a little bit more oily. And since I'm going for more of a dewy look, I want it to look really, really light so that it'll stay on longer, if that makes any sense. And now I'm just blending it in with a clean, fluffy blending brush. Now, a lot of makeup artists and makeup fanatics and stuff like that, there's always this internal debate on what kind of makeup brushes you like or what work for you. I personally like using fluffy brushes to kind of blend out in a circular motion. Now, I've known fellow colleagues that actually blend out with a flatter, stiffer brush. You know, it's just about your preference. I think with makeup, and I tell this to my clients and a lot of people I teach private classes to really find your own niche and really find what kind of blending style works for you. Well, some people use their fingers, some people use a beauty blender. You know, it's totally up to you. And I did just go back in there and redefine this because I felt like it got a little lost. So what should we do today? Like I said, something light, dewy, super cute. Okay. I think we are going to go in with my Old Faithful. And yeah, why not? So Old Faithful, Modern Renaissance. I have like 7 of these palettes. I use them for weddings, for every day, for dramatic, for anything. They are just absolutely phenomenal palettes because they have neutrals, warm neutrals, cooler neutrals, and things like that. The 2 shimmers in it are absolutely amazing. I use them a lot on brides. So I want to start off with a light color right in the tippy top here. And sometimes I actually do this with translucent powder just to kind of set the primer, specifically the Anastasia one too, if you are going to do like a brighter makeup over the summer. I have a few Natasha Denona palettes, and I would do like these crazy like reds and pinks and purples and blues and things like that. But and that primer is amazing. But if you don't put the powder on first, sometimes when you're concentrating and building your color, it can get a little splotchy. So just a little tip right there. I'm gonna go in with my raw sienna here, y'all. And you can see how sometimes, like I said before with the primer, you have to really set it and kind of blend it out, because see how that's a tiny bit splotchy right there? That's what happens. Not a big deal though, we can just buff it out. It's not that big of a deal. So I like to take my lightest color and almost take it, again with this fluffy round brush, and take it up here. I like to kind of blend out first, then build, just because that kind of helps my gradient and it doesn't look as splotchy, like as if we were going to use a really dark color or something like that and just splopped it like right here. It would just look really weird and be difficult to blend out, and you can look like a not so cute raccoon. That makes sense. Same thing over here. And when I do makeup, I always recommend to have natural light. What I'm using right now is a vanity that has a bunch of lights around the mirror, but when I'm with a client, I always like to face them towards the direct sunlight, just because the shadows and the cast that funky light can bring, like sometimes you can have like a contour line here and you're totally blended here, or like you're splotchy here, or like you're not as blended there. So the distribution of light is super, super, super important. And I'm slightly OCD when it comes to that. And if you guys really know me, slightly is an understatement. So having the right amount of light is super, super, super important when it comes to makeup. 100%. Now I just keep on dipping my brush back into the raw sienna, which is like our mid color, our light color. And I'm just lightly tapping it. Now I like to kind of go around in circular motions like that. Kind of have your brush almost rest right in your occipital bone and just kind of feel the way it's going into the crease or not, because the little divots here, not the divots, excuse me, the tapered bits here will actually do the blending for you. So I actually started doing makeup when I was very young, probably like 16, 17, something like that. And I would always go into my mom's very expensive Chanel makeup and go through there and just take it and just go into town on my face, like just for no reason. So makeup to me is very expressive. It makes me feel super, super happy. So now I'm going into the burnt orange, which are two colors right next to each other. I just want a tiny bit more warmth right here, because I think I'm gonna go for something very bronzy and peachy and like rose goldy, I think. I don't know. World's my oyster at this point, I think. Now, I'm just taking it and kind of rocking it back and forth. I don't want a ton of color, but I am adding a little bit more. And this brush is a little bit more dense than this one, just so this has a little bit more proper precision of where I want it, which is right there. So when I'm building this here, this color is a little bit more orangey and a tiny bit darker. So when you concentrate color in the corners, you're actually going to create a little bit of like a natural contour. So this will be a little bit more, not sunken in, but gives the illusion of shadow here. Where when I'm gonna go back in with our lighter shimmery colors, I'm gonna actually really brighten this up and keep that slightly darker so that it actually makes your eyes look bigger. And I have relatively bigger eyes anyway, but you'll see what I mean. So we're good with that for now. Let me see. This brush. Let's see. Okay, what I think I'm gonna do is go in with a few pigments, because I don't really play with pigments because they're messy and I don't really have time to clean them up, but hey, we're in quarantine, we all have time now. So this is MAC Melon, gorgeous, gorgeous color. And if you can see right there, ooh, okay, focus, all right, maybe not. It's kind of like this really pretty pinky, goldy, shimmery, it's just like gorgeous. Reminds me of like grapefruit color, but a little bit more gold. So now this brush, it's a fluffy brush, but it's kind of dense, like here. So I like to use this just for packing. You can actually use like a way flatter brush, but I just don't have one on hand. So I'm going like this, just tapping it. Now, the primer that we used before is still there. So it's just adhering the pigment onto the lid. And you can go as heavy-handed as you want with this because we don't have our foundation down yet. So fallout really isn't that big of an issue. Now when I use pigments, I like to actually pick it up, put it in the top, and pat it down like that. Just so that, you don't make a mess. Yeah. And you can actually control how much is going on your brush. See, I'm one of those weird people. I can't like close this eye one time. So if I have like weird, stupid face, just ignore that, please. Again, loading up the brush, tapping it off, putting it back in the top, going like this. And I don't particularly want this to be a super concentrated color. I want it more to be a wash and just super glowy. So I'm going back in with my blending brush that we used the first time, up, separating. And again, it's okay if you kind of make a mess, like I made a mess right here. We're gonna clean it up anyway. Now also, if you want, you can actually use like a spray like Fix Plus or something to actually make this a little bit brighter, more concentrated, so it's a little bit more of a paste. If you want, like I said, I kind of rather want to go for more of a glowy aura kind of deal versus like concentrated color. Okay, so moving on, wipe off your brush as you move forward because I'm going to go back and use a lighter color in the corners to kind of accentuate this brightness right here that I was talking about earlier. So same brush, again, tap, tap. Now this is, oh God, what is this called? Vanilla? Yeah, Vanilla by MAC. Gorgeous color. It's absolutely stunning. When I dressed up last year for Halloween, or one of the looks that I did for Halloween, I was my own interpretation of the Night Queen. And if you really know me, I am a humongous Game of Thrones nerd. And I use this to highlight my entire face. So I used quite a hefty amount of it, but it was worth it. So here, I'm kind of following the natural divot here. Don't blend this out too much. I'm just following my natural crease here because I don't want to bring it too high. I want it to meet here. Like I said, that kind of aura type feel. And I didn't use a lot of it, really light-handed because this part is going to be killer. And just take it up slightly. Super light pressure. Here. Wipe off my brush. Take the brush back that I had the pigment on. Dip it in just a few more times. I'm going to bring it a little bit farther out. Here. But I don't necessarily want it like super focused, like right there. I want it more focused here. Because like I said, the illusion of light is really wonderful to play with shimmers and pigments. And like I said, don't really have time to play with them, but now I do. Wipe off our blending brush. This brush is like the love of my life. I think it's a Morphe brush. 441. I have like 1,000 of these. They're amazing. Okay, again, go back in, blend everything out. Super light like that. I'm happy with it. Again, I just kind of want something really glowy and pretty and, you know, luminous and all that good stuff. So, let me see what I should use. I'm going to grab my eyeliner. Hold on. So the eyeliner I'm going to use is probably like my favorite eyeliner pretty much ever. It's by MAC. It is Teddy. It's super pretty. It's like this dark brown but it has a little bit of luminosity to it. Slightly gold flecks, like golden bronze, super, super pretty. So it's not as harsh as a black eyeliner. I actually very, very, very rarely use a black kohl liner. I normally use like a black liquid liner. Just because I feel like sometimes black kohl, A, it can smear, and B, if you don't blend it out correctly, it can look really smudgy and peculiar. So with this, slightly tug this down. I want a really nice, smudgy, sexy kind of eye kohl look right here. And this doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to smudge it out just a little bit more. Now I'm not bringing it all the way here because we want to keep this little area a little bit more open and light. Now I'm going to take the same brush that I actually used to define my brow with and just slightly smudge upwards. Super slight. Kind of like a tiny little flick of the wrist, so to speak. And I'm going to go back in my Anastasia, grab the Cypress Umber, which is the darkest color there, just on the flat part of the brush, just right here, not on the sides. And I'm just going to stamp it on top. Because what that does, it sets that really pretty smudgy sexy liner. Because Teddy, the eye kohl, it tends to move a little bit, but it actually, if you take a pointed brush, you can actually smudge it out and have it set that way too. But with this, I want it to be mostly like right here, so I like to set it with powder. You don't have to, but I just know myself, and that's just what I like to do. So same thing here. This light, again, doesn't have to be like super symmetrical. And everybody's eyes are different too. So again, go in here. Like this. And then, like I said, it doesn't have to be super like symmetrical. I'm actually gonna go and focus that a little bit more. Give it a little bit more intensity. And again, just kind of lifting it up like that. Perfect. Go back in with the Cypress Umber. Just kind of stamp. So if you know me, I wear lashes almost, well, before quarantine life, almost every day. And I have very specific lashes I like to wear. So I like to wear 614s by Salon Perfect and 113s. I think they're by Ardell. They're really wispy, really pretty. I don't like super fakey looking lashes for everyday use. Like, don't get me wrong, I love going crazy and stacking and doing crazy stuff. But for today, obviously, it's a everyday look. So you don't have to do lashes. I just feel like it and it makes me happy. So yeah. So for me, I always do mascara first. This is tried and true classic, the L'Oreal Voluminous Waterproof. It's amazing. And always make sure that your mascaras are fresh. I believe the shelf life is like about, I think like 1 month or something, not even. I switch mine out every few weeks because I'm a little paranoid. So mascara, you know, it's funny when like clients, I actually hate putting mascara on clients. I normally ask them just do it themselves because, you know, you can always gauge where you're super close. And us as humans, we actually have this funny little thing about other people touching our eyes, especially right there. So whenever I'm doing like a tight line or something, if they're not comfortable or if they're just like twitching out, I'm like, you know what, I'll show you how to do it on myself and then you can do it on yourself. You know, it's all about being comfortable and, you know, getting, oh shit. Sorry. I'll show you how to take care of that one sec. See, the thing is when you do this with mascara, your automatic thing is to, oh my God, touch it. No, because you actually want to let it set, because if you touch it now, it'll get all over your face and you'll look like a hot mess. So we'll take care of it. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so grabbing my lashes. These are, I believe, 113s. The difference between 113s and 614s, and this probably all sounds like mumbo jumbo to most of you guys. The 113s are a little bit more flared. Now, I do love Kiss 11s as well. Those are absolutely wonderful too. I'm just grabbing my lash glue. Okay. So, putting on strip lashes. Not even gonna lie, it's not easy. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of understanding, I think, your eye shape, and there's definitely a few tricks to it. So, I like to get really close to the mirror. My lash is here. That's what it looks like. Super thin band. They're gorgeous. Please ignore my ratchet nails. Now, I like to use Duo. If you have an allergy to latex, do not use this. I find it works really well as far as having the lashes to be secure, so that they don't like lift off or anything like that. I have pretty oily skin, so I have to use more intense glue so that it doesn't move. They Duo actually does offer like latex free glue. I think House of Lashes, I think their glue is latex free. You can find whatever works for you. I prefer the black one because it actually gives you a little bit more volume right at the base, and with the lash itself, it almost gives you like a look of eyeliner without having eyeliner, if that makes any sense. So take your glue, and I like kind of using older ones too so that the glue doesn't come out as fast. Put a tiny bit of glue right on the seam. Make sure that you have a pretty even amount of glue. Like, see how there's a little bit uneven bits here? I'm gonna go back in with a nozzle of my glue itself. And I like to kind of look at it too and really see if it's even on not just the band, but even on the surface that it's about to lay on. So taking a little bit more. And like I said, lashes are practice, so if you don't get them right, don't worry about it. It took me a really long time to get it right. And sometimes I still don't, you know? Now the trick is too, letting this set on the band a little bit. If you put it on immediately, you're gonna create a complete mess. And also with darker glue, you have to let it set, because if not, if you get your lash up here, you're gonna get dark spots all up here, your eyeshadow is gonna be ruined, and you are going to have a really horrible moment. So let it set for 30 to 60 seconds. And just look down and plop it in the middle. So don't really go for a corner, just kind of plop it right on top of your natural lashes and feel it secure right in the middle. So it drops right there, right? Take your tweezers, or if you have like long nails, like I used to, you can actually take the corners and tuck them. That is the easiest way for me. I feel like you have more control that way, and you see exactly where they are. Also too, if you have smaller eyes, it helps to measure out the lashes first. I have pretty big eyes, and I can't say I cut lashes too often for people, because mostly people have, you know, pretty big eye space. But if you feel like your eyes are small, then definitely just take your lash off the little plastic thing, plop it on. If you feel like it's a little long here or poking here, just take a tiny little cuticle scissor and just nip it. Not a big deal. Yeah, I feel secure with this one. Obviously the glue will set. You can still see it, but it'll set. And also my feature of my lovely mascara dollop. Same thing on the other side. Now, I always find that one eye is a little bit easier than the other. Now, this one that I'm about to put this on, this one is my problem child. I don't know why. I have a feeling it's because where my eye crease is here, sometimes it's difficult for this, the end to actually like set or become secure, I guess. But again, taking your itty little bit of glue, working it on the band, looking at it to make sure it's even. Like I said, this corner is a little bit more difficult for me, so I'm putting a little bit more right on the corner. And again, and always make sure that you put your cap on your glue, because if this gets all gross and it's impossible to open, and honestly, like, it's happened to me a few times where I just get ticked off because, you know, glue's not cheap. Always make sure that your glue is secured. Now again, I'm kind of looking for my glue evenness. You don't really have to do this, but this is just me. Wait a few seconds. I think this is the most important part that people don't really seem to do, and that when they struggle, you know, getting the lashes secure and all over your face, this is a really key part, is making sure that this glue has enough time to kind of start setting. Again, look down. When I like to actually tell this for beginners, take a hand mirror and look down, because what that does, it teaches you about where you place your lash. Like I said, it's really important that you put it right in the middle and you tuck it in, and you can see it a lot easier that way. So here I am, popping down, and like I said, this corner is always the tricky one for me. So kind of finagling that down and around, and how that's tucked in, and then you just tuck the other one. Now I almost like to move it down a tiny bit too, and make sure that I feel it secure. And like I said, this one's a little special, so I'll almost kind of go back in there and like double check and double retuck, because now our glue is tacky enough to where it will stay. And see, that's it. Pretty darn easy, but I get it, it's not too easy in the beginning. And trust me, I still have those days where I'm like, oh my God, my lashes are just not cooperating with me at all. At all. So just taking a teensy bit of makeup remover on a napkin like this. And by now our mascara has dried. And that's it. That's it. It's there. So I think a big thing with makeup is a lot of tips and tricks and things that have worked for me in my experience with my clients and everything like that, you know. So let's move on to face. So with that little bit that I took off the little mascara, I'm actually just going to flip this underneath and remove some of that fallout here. You can take a wipe. I already just kind of moistened this with a little bit of makeup remover anyway. And here, this is not as bad. So, there we go. So, like I said, I kind of want my skin to be super dewy and beautiful and like just gorgeous, and like I look like a Victoria's Secret model with my skin. So, I just wiped off my hand because I was had some pencil on it. Funny thing about me is that I actually don't use a ton of foundation. I really don't. I actually use a lot more concealer and a lot more of my contour than anything. But I obviously do use a thin layer. So this is actually Fit Me foundation, because I am out of my Armani. And I'm trying to be good since I'm not working and not buy another bottle, but it really is killing me because that is literally my favorite foundation of all freaking time. But this is a good one too. So back in the hand, this is a damp, whatchamacallit, a Real Techniques sponge, which I actually like more than the Beauty Blenders, to be honest with you, because I go through them so darn quick with doing brides and doing just clients and everything like that. And you should honestly throw them out like every 2 or 3 weeks or so. And now obviously this is way different than my skin tone, but I am kind of a vampire. I don't like to go and have my face exposed in the sun, so I actually don't mind bringing down my foundation on my cheekbone, or excuse me, my collarbones, and farther down here. I am super cautious about sun rays and skin, just because I have seen a lot of my personal clients have melanoma, and a lot of friends and family and stuff like that. My father grew up in the Philippines, so he didn't really have much skin protection when he was a kid, and somewhat recently he had to go for some laser treatments for some spots on his skin, and I know it was super uncomfortable for him, so I don't want to go through that. So I'd rather just use a foundation that's a few shades darker than my actual skin tone to match the rest of my body. Okay, so moving on, like I said before, I use a lot more concealer than you would think. And fave, obviously, Shape Tape Light Medium. And I don't really like to do the whole like swoopy like Nike type shtick, but you know how some people like draw all over their faces like you're like about to go to war or something. Not really my thing, but I do like having a little bit more coverage here. So taking that same sponge, I don't want to call it a beauty blender because it's not. I like to use this pointed side here so you can get really in this corner. And also too, using the sponge that has your foundation on it is great because it actually kind of buffs it out for you a little bit. Now I know that one side isn't completely buffed out, but it's not a big deal. I'm going to go back and do it again. So I like to just really work this in the corner. Now if you have a lot more bluish, violetish undertones, and sometimes people do, like, you know, for me, if I'm like really tired, if I was like partying way too much the other night, I'll go in with a little bit of a corrector and something that's a little bit more peachy toned. I actually really love Tarte. They have a Maracuja concealer. I'm sure I can probably find it in a sec. That's a little bit more salmony pink. And I actually like to take that on a brush like, where are you? Aha. Like this, and dab it right in the corner. And then I'll just take my Shape Tape and just kind of buff over it. And it gives me just a little bit more control of discoloration right here. Right now, I don't really have it because I've been getting a lot of sleep because of quarantine life. But it's a wonderful tool. And see how I'm just kind of blending it up, blending it in. And see how that just kind of becomes super seamless and pretty. That's what I'm about, guys. Now, contour. I can't even tell you how many times people have asked me about contour, about how to do it. I'm not a huge fan of that hardcore dark gray line unless I am going out with my friends and we are going for like more of a Kardashian draggy, like crazy kind of look. So what I like to use is actually another Maybelline drugstore product. It's a Fit Me Concealer, and this shade is Cafe. Now it's a few shades darker than my skin, but it is a warmer tone. Now I like using things that have more of a warmer tone because if you use something with a gray or this like weird ashy color, it doesn't look natural on the skin, and it looks like you did your makeup like in a closet or something. So I'm just taking this, following my natural cheekbones. And now when the product is still warm, take the same damp sponge, tap it. I actually like to go up with mine because the way that I feel like it looks, it makes your skin look like it's warmed. Like you were out in the beach all day or something like that, or you were in like Tahiti or like something gorgeous. And I just love this product, and I use it on a lot of people because like I said, it has a little bit of a natural bronzy glow, but it gives you that contour. See how there's a little bit more depth here, but it's not completely like weird looking. It's so hard to explain. And since I'm wearing my hair down the middle, I'm actually gonna put a tiny bit like right here. You don't have to. I don't like nose contour. If you want, you can. I personally don't like it. I think it looks awful. But I like to highlight around the nose though. I will say that. So I'll do that later. Let's see, since I wanted to go ultra like dewy-ish, I have this stick. It's like a bronzy stick. It's really pretty. It's like a, yeah, like a bronzer stick. I'm just putting a tiny bit, just a little bit right here. I honestly couldn't tell you where I got this. I'm sure Milk Makeups makes something similar, and I'll use the highlighter on my face too. But again, pushing that in the skin, I think sponges are absolutely wonderful because they really help push the product in your skin without it looking cakey or spongy or excuse me, not spongy, just really dry looking. Now that I'm like looking at myself, I'm like, all right, girl, you need a tan. So I'm bringing just the rest of that product that's on the back of my hand and down here, just a little bit farther down. Just like that. So, a lot of people like to bake. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I find Shape Tape a lot more matte. But if you're one of those people, and I'll just do it just because, why the heck not? Taking my good old Laura Mercier powder. This is my ride or die. I cannot live without this powder. And I'm just going to take a tiny bit right on the tip and just place it right here, because that's where I find where I can get a little creasy. Right here. Right there. Now while that is setting, we will go in and do the blush. And like I said, I really use this baby for everything. So I recently kind of got into the avenues of creamy blushes, and not a lot left, but this is by Tarte. It is Beach Cheeks, Beaches and Cream. And I'll take the opposite side. You can see where I've used it before. Getting that little ring right there. Smushing this all into that till you get kind of a bit. And just dabbing lightly up. I actually like to take my blush a little bit farther up because I feel like it just looks like you're naturally flushed. In like the best way possible. So, again, up. Like that. I'm really about peachy, beachy, really fresh looking blush. I'm not a big fan of like really purpley based ones. I don't know. We all go through our little moments, I think. Now I'm gonna wipe off the bake. You can let that sit for as long as you possibly want, but I don't want anything too crazy. So just taking a little highlighter brush, what we're gonna use momentarily. And I'm actually gonna go back in and finish the lower part of my eye. Now you don't have to really do this if you're really happy with what's going on. I just want a tiny bit more definition. So I'm actually gonna take my darkest color, the Cypress Umber, the one that we pressed on, back on my flat brush, this one here. And I'm gonna just take it right in the corner and just kind of drag it up just to meet the corner. See how that gives you just a tiny bit more? Again, same thing. And I'm talking like tiny little bit in a slight motion. Happy with that. Let's finish highlighting, why don't we? All right, back with the vanilla. I feel like I can't believe I don't use this pigment as much as I should. All right, back down here, dabbing a little bit on that more tapered blending brush. I'm just gonna go down and slightly over, just like that. Just like that. And whatever is the rest on it, I'm actually gonna take it up here. I am not a huge fan of massively highlighting your brow. I think that was a really lovely trend a few years ago, but just when the light hits it, it looks pretty. It's not white, because that looks crazy. Okay, mascara on the bottom. So this is my favorite mascara of all time. MAC Extended Play. Love it. It doesn't move at all. And I like to do my lower lashes just because it makes my eyes like that much bigger. And just really get in there and hook it almost. and pull it down to give some pretty definition here. And now you can also go in the corner, like right there, like that. Pull it down. Mascara face is always super cute. And now I like to clobber this stuff on because I just like the way it looks. And see how that just opens the eye area? Bam. So, highlighter. Let's do... Haha. Oh, poo now. Okay. We are going to take tried and true. This is an Anastasia palette. It is the Nicole Guerrero. Yeah. I love this palette. It's so pretty. They're like soft pinks. Obviously, you can tell I love it. It's well used. I'm going to use the Forever One Young. Bleh, this one. Dap it. And I like to use a really light hand and just kind of dip. Now, I did read somewhere that Anastasia is actually like selling these for somewhat cheap now, so I might just buy like, 10 of them naturally. I really love this highlighter palette because it's not super glittery, but it definitely has like shine. See? A little bit on the nose here, and that's what I was talking about with the nose highlighter. I think it's cute just right on the tip, right here. Take a tiny bit there. And I'm not re-dipping. I only re-dipped right for the nose, but I'm using the excess here. A little bit on the bow. I might go a little bit extra. Quarantine Life. Right here. Tiny bit there. And cool. Dig it. Lippies. I have really been into really nudish, pinkish lips lately. So I'm just gonna take my lip liner. This is by NYX. It is called Peekaboo Neutral. It is a tried and true. I love this baby. Now, I have a thing about my lips. My lips are actually not even down here. Nothing crazy. But I always kind of like to overfill. Always go for what your natural lip line looks like. And I always like to almost over gloss if you have not big lips, and use different colors to kind of like contour them a little bit. But I'll show you what I mean in a sec. And this is very similar to my lip color. But that's why I like it. I don't really want to do something serious with my lip right now. Just kind of fill that bad boy in. Now let's see. All right, let's play a little bit. All right, so let me just grab a flatter brush, or actually, okay. So this is kind of what I mean by lip contour. So this is Lolita by Kat Von D. It is like the most universal, gorgeous color for almost anybody, any skin tone, no matter who you are, what you wear. It's stunning. It's like a really gorgeous, neutrally mauvey rose, neutrally kind of rose. It's just gorgeous. So I just took it on a little lip brush like this, and I don't want a lot of color. I'm just gonna pretty much demo how to do like lip contour. So your darkest color, I'm taking it right to the edges. Really light hand, and I'm like barely moving. I'm barely putting pressure. So it's kind of like using a darker lip liner. But I'm just kind of going more to the corners. Now see how that kind of makes your lips look a little bit more pillowy? That's it, that's it. Taking this again. Right down there. And see how that makes your lower lip that much more like full. When you go in and do your corner, same kind of concept with here, right? Like I was talking about, the more depth you have here, the brighter this will look. Same kind of balance of shadow and light. You have a little bit more contour here, so this will look a little bit bigger that way. And also with a cute little bow, it works. Favorite gloss ever. This is Laura Mercier. This is Rose. Her lip glosses are like unbelievable, actually. And this is a really pretty pinky color. And you see how you still have a little bit of contour, that shadow, which is pretty darn amazing. So to finish, I'm going to use a bunch of Fix Plus. Fix Plus is pretty much like a Hydro Charge water spray. You can use it to actually prep the skin. I actually use this a lot to mix with my moisturizers to make them a little bit more less heavy, because I use really dense moisturizers, and I'm sure I'll get into that another day. But make sure that it's on too, a few feet away. And let it all go. Now, if you want your makeup to really stay, you can actually put translucent powder on and then put the Fix Plus over it. It kind of works as a setting spray, but I wouldn't say as much as like an Urban Decay, like oil slick, or excuse me, de-slick, or the all-nighter spray. But see how that just kind of gives you dewy, pretty much what I wanted. Now, off to do nothing. Quarantine life. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, just definitely feel free to DM me or just text me or whatever. All right, bye.